All right, Nate here with the Volunteer Tech Vlog on the Live Sound 101 YouTube channel. And I wanted to go over software audio console default mix template. So at our church, we've got a SAC system, what we call SAC or SAC, software audio console. And there's no board. We mix all in software. We're crazy like that. And love it or hate it, that's the system we've got. And so this file that I just made the default. I also saved a copy of it in case the default gets altered or whatever. I saved another copy of it, and the file name is 2015-11-08 Nate's Mix Add Drum Monitor. So this is a big change. So let's go over the big idea here. Is I added a physical line, and I created a separate mix. So we've got mix number 5, which is now active, which feeds the drummer's hotspot monitor. So we don't have to burn an in-ear monitor for a stationary musician, right? So the whole beauty of wireless is that you can roam around freely. Well, if you're playing drums, you're not roaming around. So we ran a physical line over there to his hotspot, and I can tell you how I did that. But that was kind of driving a lot of these changes. Let me just go down the list here. So in the default mix, I reserved channels 21 through 25 for the drum snake. So we've got an 8-channel snake, which we're using 6 channels of, and channel 1 on this, it's like a 20-foot or 25-foot extension that just goes from some wall plates over to the drum kit, so you don't have to run a bunch of long XLRs. So it's just a little 8-channel snake. So channel 1 on that snake goes to Tieline, stage Tieline, or stage input 21. Channel 2 on the snake goes to stage input 22. Channel 3 to 23. Channel 4 to 24. And 5 to 25. And 6 to 26. Now, channel 26 of that snake is set up as a return path. So snakes send audio both ways. It doesn't necessarily matter except for the gender and type of connector at one end. But if you've got the right adapters, you can have as many returns or sends as you want. This is an analog snake. So we've got an analog snake that gets extended and goes into our digital system. That's kind of what we're working with here. And so we reserved channel 26. I should say we reserved the Tieline and snake channel 26, not channel 26 into the system. That's now spare. So we could use that for like a wireless mic or talkback mic or something like that. So channel 26 is now open as an input to the system up in the loft or at our analog to digital converter. But the snake channel has an output that's fed from mix number 5, which is a personal mix set up for the drummer. So it's the keyboard shortcut to jump to that mix is 05. So if you type in 05 shortcut key on the keyboard, that'll take you to the drum monitor mix. And now he's got his own physical line run down there, and that goes all the way through, comes out of Tieline 26, and it goes through that little 8-channel drum snake and comes out of essentially what's marked as an input 6. We're actually using that input as an output now, and that comes out into a little powered speaker, a little Mackie powered speaker up on a mic stand. So that's a big improvement there, and these are all labeled. So channel 21 is the overhead mic. Channel 22 is the kick drum, and that this is also an important point. I've moved the kick drum mic to the back to get more of the beater sound, because that was asked to try to get more. We're trying to experiment with different drum sounds, so that drum mic was moved back by the beater. Then we've got drum mic number 3, which is going into input 3 on the drum snake, input 23 into our Tielines, and ultimately into our SAC system. So that's snares in 23. And then the hi-hat would be 20. There's a spot reserved for 24 for the hi-hat, although no mic is connected yet. And there's a spot reserved for 25, which is a secondary kick drum mic, which would be either inside the drum itself or just right by the air hole or the ported the front of the drum head there. So yeah, so that's kind of the situation with the drums, and I've relabeled those channels in the default mix file. So they should be pretty clearly marked. They're color-coded green now. I like to change up the colors every once in a while, so you open it up and you know something's changed. It's just a nice visual indicator that the default is no longer the default that we had, last week. The next thing was I set up. So to set up the drum mix, all I did was I set it to mono. I set the drum mix, which is 05. I named it. So I named the master channel strip drum, MON, for drum monitor. And again, so we didn't burn a wireless. And so there's a physical line coming out of our analog to digital converters and our digital to analog converters, and it's coming out of, in software it's labeled output 1314. So if you go to the drum monitor master fader, you'll notice now that's set to mono, and you'll notice that the source, or the output source, is set to 1314, and then physically at the back of our stack of analog to digital converters, if you look at the back of ADA 8000 unit number, I believe it's B, there's units A, B, C, and D. Unit B, it's output number 6, I believe, which corresponds to, in the software, output number 1314. And that's a little bit confusing to wrap your head around if you're not into working with DSPs and, you know, doing a lot of signal routing and stuff. So that might not necessarily be intuitive, but that's how it is. So that's all set up. What else did I do? I labeled channel 19. I labeled it and reserved it for guitar mic, and it's called GTR SM57 because all the time, whenever we've got EJ up there playing through his amp, we've just got a 57 on his amplifier. So I just baked that kind of into the default, so there's less guesswork. So when EJ comes in, just his little mic on the 57 that's on that little tiny baby mic stand, that's just always going to be patched into channel 19 to keep everybody's life easy. He's usually always in the same location. And then channel 20 I reserved for bass, so I just labeled that as bass. And again, it's like the bass player is usually always in the same location, so let's just get that baked into the default mix file and just have the bass always going to 20, and that's just the way things will be. And channel 26 is now not connected. It's a spare. So because that line, Tieline 26, is now being used as a return for the drum monitor mix. And then 32 is also not connected. That's a spare, and that's just because we haven't used it for anything. So we've got 2 spare inputs that we could potentially use for maybe a talkback mic, or we could maybe shift the wireless around. That's probably the next thing we'll do, is get our other 2 channels of wireless up and running and get those guys figured out, so we have maybe 2 body packs and 2 handhelds that can all be working at the same time, because right now they're just not configured that way. So, but that'll be in the future. So those are the big changes for the default mix file. I hope that was clear, and I'll see you in the next video.